ahead and call the meeting to order. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty. All right, roll call, please.
Mrs. Bloom, here. Mrs. Spiritu, here. Mrs. Laird, here. Mr. Price,
Here.
Ms. Ray, here.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from our regular meeting on April 25th, 2022, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Laird. Could I have a second? Second by Mrs. Ray. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Laird,
Yes.
Mrs. Ray,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom, yes. Mrs. Spiritu,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved. So we have one walk-on item that will follow down in item 20
Yes,
in
sir.
the agenda, so that'll come on later, so we have that in front of us. Next up, legislative report.
Okay. This one's a short one tonight, folks, since last week I had a little bit more detailed item and I'm working on a little more detailed one for next time. So, part of what the legislative body works on and the Ohio School Board Association works on in student achievement has a variety of programs. One of them has to do with acknowledging those who educate our children, and that's the teachers. You may remember a few months ago, I told you that a teacher from Ohio was nominated as our nation's top teacher, and he won. So an Ohio teacher, congratulations. He's from Oberlin High School, and this is the gentleman you might remember saying his name is Kurt Russell.
Right.
So congratulations, Mr. Russell. An interesting article is also about the citizenship of students and their achievement in that regard. In Texas, they've initiated a program where students are starting to partner up and speak to those of their same age that have been displaced in the Ukraine to understand world events, national security, human impact, that kind of thing. So those things are part of the student achievement programs nationally too. And of course, there's always statistical data that has to go along with that. A highlight I thought you'd find interesting, and I hope will improve this next coming school year. Preschool enrollment fell 20%. Right. So we know that foundation of young children having that initial introduction into education for their social skills, their comfort level, and then their basic classroom achievement is very important to have. A lot of that, of course, is attributed to logistics with the pandemic, parents' daycare, issues, those sorts of things. So hopefully we'll see an improvement in that. This is from, just for citing my resources here, this is the May 2022 newsletter of the OSBA's Success publication. We have another one that comes from the Student Achievement Liaison Resources, and it's through the link. This is also May 22nd. It just gives a quick highlight of some of what's coming legislatively, so very quickly on that. The week of May 9th is when committees are back in session and hearing proposed bills. One in particular it talked about was extending the current temporary flexibility for school districts regarding the educational requirements of substitute teachers until June 30th, 2024. The bill also would establish a study committee to examine the substitute teacher shortage. I know, Mr. Detweiler, you've talked about that with us in the community a lot. There's a significant shortage there, and our children need those teachers in the classroom, so working on that. And then to help kids catch up after the time in class that they missed, there's a bill being worked on that would establish a voluntary tutoring and remedial instruction program that public schools and chartered non-public schools may choose to participate in by notifying the state superintendent of public instruction. This would be through the ESC of Central Ohio. More to come on that as it develops. And then speaking of the state superintendent, the state of Ohio is looking to hire a new one at the state level. It's down to 3 candidates. So there is Stephen Dakin. He's the former state board vice president. There is Larry Hook, the superintendent of Springboro Community City and close by home. There's Thomas Hostler II, superintendent at Perrysburg. So that concludes my report for the evening. More detail next time.
Thanks, Chantel.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the community section of our agenda. If anyone would like to speak to the board, they can just come up to the podium. Please state your name and address just for the record.
Right. Yep, you're good.
We're Mike and Michelle Guinan. We're in Fremont, Ohio, on County Road 164. It's been brought to our attention that there's transgenders using the ladies' bathrooms. We're concerned about it from the ongoing trouble in the United States, whether it be in Virginia or the women's prison that has several inmates that become pregnant. We don't know that the public really knows about it. Is it something that we should make them aware of? Or is it something that's going to be handled within the school board?
Well,
You go ahead. You
I
first.
mean, the first thing is that we have to follow what the federal or state laws are, being a public school, obviously. There are those laws in place that there is no discrimination against that. So, as far as any school district goes, that is something that is allowable under law, that we have to follow.
Would you be willing to do what the Clyde School District does and let them use the staff bathrooms?
That's already the case here.
Already
That's already available to them here. Yes.
available or just mandatory?
Well, as Mr. Price said, by law, we are not allowed to mandate that. We don't have that legal authority as a school board. But we do make that available for students who choose that for their privacy.
Is it something you think should be addressed further, deeper?
If I may,
Sure.
comment on it. I think just like you folks individually, people have the right to advocate at the legislative level. Right now, it's gone through appellate courts, through the regions. It's not made its way up to the federal Supreme Court yet. Probably heading that way, of some of the laws that do exist that mandate the use one way or the other, or that make it open which way matches the U.S. Constitution. So as of right now, as Tom said, the ruling so far, as far up the ladder as it's gotten on the ruling, has said that we cannot mandate it. So I don't know when that would make it to the federal level, but at some point, what you can do is the legislative body writes the laws. So know who your who your representatives are in that particular arena.
How about contacting parents, though? I think, as a parent, I would want to know, that this is happening just to, and I'm not trying to, say that something could happen or will happen, but it could happen. Do you let your daughters know, hey, there just might be someone in this bathroom other than biological females?
Mr. Detweiler, would we, my first instinct is this. I hear you as a parent. I would want that are going on in the school district that has an impact on my student. I would want to know that. But I think we're bound by some privacy language. They're minor children.
I think it'd be a great idea if we just brought our legal counsel to a meeting to really get.
I think so as well, to see.
It's just treacherous waters. You're stepping into some high revised code, and the Office of Civil Rights. It's kind of where, the law is really anti-discrimination, but then the regulations and how that lands on the ground is kind of driven through Office of Civil Rights, and that's kind of where we get our guidance. But I think it'd be a great idea to find that. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we educate each other, the better. And I can't disagree with you any less. So, but I think maybe having an attorney just come so we could have a vigorous discussion about what is the latest, what are the risks, what are the payoffs, what are we dealing with here before we get the school board in. potentially a real mess, you know, legally and
Yeah,
so forth.
I would want to know that. I certainly think informing people of laws. There was more detail in the last meeting, but I'll bring up different bills that are being proposed and what they entail to try to inform the public. That we certainly can do. But again, I don't know on the language of identifying specific students.
Well, certainly not students.
Well,
Yeah.
and I don't think we're not asking for names.
Right.
It's just a fact that this is happening, or there's the chance that, you know, your daughter's in the restroom and you know, a biological male comes in. I don't care if he's dressed like a female or not. I mean, and that's his choice. But I guess as a parent, that's a concern to me. You know.
We just want to keep the Fremont City Schools out of the muddy water that
Yeah.
happens, because if
Yes,
down the
sir.
road, if you have to ask the community for another levy or something, I mean, I think you want
Transparency. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
And I think to go along with all that too is that no matter what gender or not gender or whatever it is, when it comes to behavior, we are still going to, I mean, if it's bad behavior, you know, it's not that someone that's identifies as transgender is going into a different restroom is bad behavior. But if something were to happen there, and we know that it can jump to whatever, then yes, absolutely, the school would be, you know, that's different than non-discrimination stuff. That is,
Yeah.
no, we are disciplining you on bad behavior.
Yeah.
You know,
And bad behavior could be any combination of anybody you can
of
imagine. Right.
anything, right.
Right. For sure. That's a good
I mean,
point.
that is definitely on the forefront of for anything. I mean, whatever the circumstance might be, we want our schools to be safe for all the kids.
Within your what you know you can do right now, is there specific time frames where, no, it's hard, you can't, we've all go to the bathroom when you have to go to the bathroom, but could it be something that's from 2 to 4 transgenders are allowed in the ladies' restrooms, or what you know now you can do? Eliminate. I'm trying to be proactive.
Sure. If I may, from what I understand, Mr. Gagne, I don't think that would probably dip into that restriction, because right now it's pretty clear that we cannot restrict use of anybody that to the gender to which they identify. I think is how it reads. I'm no lawyer. Once again, it'd be a good thing to have a lawyer look at, but I would think that probably giving people's time slots would qualify as a restriction, probably beyond what that would allow. But like I said, I am certainly not an attorney.
Okay.
But I certainly understand your concerns. I really do.
Stay tuned and take a look at the agendas that get posted. You know, watch the videos, and then you'll hear the date and time that we'll have legal counsel for that conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can definitely put that out there. So even
Sure.
if someone can't make the board meeting, I mean, it's live stream, but also those are always archived too. So anybody can go back to watch it so they can hear what an attorney would say as far as what the state and federal government says that a district can or can't do. So absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Everyone
Thank
keep
you
all
for your
night.
time.
All right,
Thank you.
Good night. You may. This is when most people kind of go, yeah, but you're welcome to stay. Please.
Stay.
Don't, there's no donuts or cookies, but you can. Yes, sir.
There's no one else here, so we can go ahead and move on in the agenda to the
All right.
superintendent's report.
Thank you much, Mr. Price. Just some things because we get close to the end of the school year. One of our biggest things we're worried about right now is students graduating. It's been kind of a mess, and I think I've alluded to that to you in a couple of different ways throughout the spring. But I called Mr. Zeller this morning, high school principal, and asked how many students are really in jeopardy, and he gave me the number 25. Now I asked him, how does that compare pre-COVID? And he said pre-COVID it'd be more like 10, 8, 9, that we were trying to really work to get over the hump at the end. Now, those 25s, obviously there's a whole range there. Some are close, some are not so close, but it's certainly a larger number than normal. And with my administrative team, we've been talking about this a lot, and that is that unfortunately we do have a lot of students that have shut down. And I think if you were an at-risk sophomore 2 years ago, this has been devastating for you. You know, you've lost maybe some confidence, you've lost some momentum, you've lost some learning. Things seem insurmountable for a lot of our students. It's tragic. But also on the other side of that, we want to make sure that our diploma means something, that we aren't just handing them out. And so we're trying to find that balance. But we certainly are giving students every opportunity. We're in constant communication with parents, so there's no surprises. That's what I keep telling my principals. No surprises. There can't be that last minute, oh, by the way, your child's not walking for graduation. So we're making sure that we're getting that message out and that students know what their status is. But I just want to keep you up to date on that. It's higher than it needs to be, higher than it should be, but also not completely not understandable that it's where it is. And we're trying, one of our goals that this board came up with under that student section, and when we took it back to the district leadership team, one of the objectives is to sort of reestablish that rigor and sort of get that bar back up for students. And you know, there's a lot of grace, a lot of love, a lot of grace throughout the last 18 months, 2 years. And that's good in so much as it is, but also we need to make sure that we're delivering the highest quality education we can. So that's sort of the nutshell there. Subs, I had interesting, just wanted to mention that we are having a sub issue. I had the privilege of covering third grade last Friday morning, and wow. I also, I told everyone that my goal was to not get duct taped to the wall by 10 a.m. And I did. I made it. I didn't get duct taped to the wall. But it's that's the youngest I've ever done. I was a 5th, 4th, 6th grade. That's kind of my sweet spot. 7th grade, not 3rd grade. But I enjoyed myself. But also saw a lot of kids who they struggle to pay attention. And I'm not an expert on 3rd graders, but my experience was their attention span is short. I think you add social media, their devices, COVID, all those things together. You know, these kids really haven't had a normal year since kindergarten. So that's it's a long time ago to have, you know, had that good old-fashioned traditional and all the training and the routines and the social things we do to help kids be successful in school. There's a lot of gaps there. So, but this Friday will be another big day. In our contract, that's the last day that teachers can take our personal days, use personal days. So Fridays in May are always an especially challenge. So we maybe should get some board members in the classrooms this Friday. I'm just kidding. We throw you on as a walk-on, right? Get you going. Staff appreciation, and you'll see we had a few more groups in tonight's agenda. The directors and I and Megan made it around the district last Tuesday and Wednesday, I think. To hand out hot dogs. I put on a striped vendor shirt, took my little tub full of hot dogs and my cap, and we hit the road to hand out hot dogs and Cracker Jacks. And I was calling hot dogs and Cracker Jacks. Get them while they're hot to the whole staff, and had a really nice time. It's really, I think, good for all of us to look every employee in the eye and tell them thank you for what you do. And here's a very soggy hot dog to show our appreciation for what you do for us. So I actually had someone say they really appreciated their soggy hot dog. So it went very well, though. So, and you brought up a point, Chantel, about Tom Hosser at Perrysburg. He's a very well-respected leader in this area of the state. He's a leader of our CAPE group, and the CAPE group is one of my superintendent groups from the Northwest Ohio region that we Zoom about once a month to talk about issues locally and statewide. So we all actually have all written a letter of support for Tom in his pursuit to be the state superintendent. We think he would be a fabulous choice, and we're wishing him well for that. Although I like him a lot, I'm not sure I want to wish that on an enemy. Sometimes that job, it's a tough job, but we think Tom would be a fabulous candidate. We wish him well. So that's all I have tonight. If any questions on anything that I can address?
To your point about him being respected in the area, I also thought it was nice that the candidates come directly from
Yes.
education.
Yes, not always the
That's
case.
not always the case.
You are so right. Yeah, and recently. So
And even as a banker sitting on a school board,
yeah,
I respect that there are certain positions in the school that needs to be an educator. So
yeah, the depth of knowledge is there. Yeah, for sure. All right, thank you. Proceed.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Price. All right, heading on to our agenda. Item 1 is approval of donations. Always a good part of our agenda. We've got Liberty Dental gave us some toothbrushes. Lowe's gave us 4 large plants for the middle school drama, and Warner Mechanical gave us $1,000 cash that was actually to help us with some of our hot dog expenses, believe it or not. So they were helping us with our staff appreciation.
Can I get a motion to approve item 1, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Bloom. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Spiritu. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bloom? Yes. Ms. Spiritu? Yes. Ms. Laird?
Yes.
Mrs. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you very much. Moving into facilities and operations. First one is A&G Educational Services, that agreement with your approval. That is a third off-site educational spot for students who really need some intensive care through our special ed department. So that's what that agreement is for. Item 3 is the Mental Health and Recovery Services Board. We do have a full-time mental health counselor. Not every school has that. It's one of the things that we are really glad we have. She's housed at Ross and does a fabulous job. Sees a lot of students on a regular basis, helping them through mental health issues, which is certainly a need. Item 4, healthcare processing consulting. That is our third-party billing that manages our Medicaid billing. Am I right there?
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Megan. So that's those are items under facilities and operations this evening.
Can I get a motion to approve items 2 through 4, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Laird. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second. All right. Mrs. Spiritu? Sorry. Any discussion?
If I may, on that number 4, that's that 23,000. I asked Megan how much we bill, and she has over $100,000 that we get reimbursed through families that qualify for Medicaid for our services, speech and language pathology, hearing. You name it. We have a lot of services that we run through our system. We can reimburse some of that time through Medicaid, and that's sort of what that is. So we spend 23 to get 100, so it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. Roll call, please.
Ms. Laird?
Yes.
Mrs. Spiritu? Yes. Mrs. Bloom? Yes. Mrs. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes, motion's approved.
All right, thank you, Board. Item 5 through 14. I always hesitate to just blow past policy, and I never would intend to do that. But these are all ones that come from Ohio School Board Association that have been vetted by their lawyers based on new laws. So, without reading all of them, these are pretty much boilerplate kind of responses to changes in law. I don't think there's anything there that's controversial, needs pointed out. But certainly, if you look through that before our second reading, I could get some information if you needed some. So that's item, was that 5 through 14? Yeah.
Can I get a motion to approve items 5 through 14, please?
So moved.
By Mrs. Spiritu. Can I have a second? Second by Mrs. Ray. Any discussion? I can tell you, I'm on policy committee, and as we are going through, most of it is a couple little words.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
Some,
There
some
really
corrections.
isn't a huge change in
Right.
anything. So
Certainly
it's just-
nothing controversial. Yeah.
No, it didn't really change anything. It's just
Fine
couple
tuning.
words here and there that were changed in the law. Yep. All right, roll call, please.
Mrs. Spiritu? Yes. Mrs. Ray?
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom? Yes. Ms. Laird?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you very much. Moving on in student and staff achievement. Item 15, one of our good things to do is reward someone who's gone back to finish their diploma. And this one has been a while. So she was a Ross student for many years and has been a Fremont native for a very long time, and has finally gone back and gotten her classes that she needs to graduate. So with your approval tonight, we're going to give Pamela Grosswheeler a Fremont Ross High School diploma. Item 16, I want to point out the years on that. This is the high school band's trip to Washington, D.C. Your approval tonight will basically clear the way for them to start planning, fundraising, all that. We really asked, for kind of following the procedure. Let's get a board approval for an out-of-state trip for a group, and that kind of turns them loose on all the work that it takes to do that. So that's actually a year from now for the band's trip to D.C. So that we have your approval for this evening. Are we missing a roll call right there?
I was kind of wondering
I
myself.
think we could. Can we throw a roll call in there, right, Mr. Price, since
Sure,
we're
before
going into
curriculum.
curriculum after that?
All right, can I get a motion to approve items 15 and 16, please? Motion by Mrs. Ray. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bloom. Any discussion?
John, now that everything's back in person and moving forward, would it be possible, maybe you already did this, when we have these really special opportunities to award the diplomas,
Mhm.
since they can't walk at commencement, could they come to the board meeting and shake the superintendent and board president's hand and
I would
receive their
love to invite them.
container to put the diploma
Absolutely.
in?
Kinda throw a
That'd be
little-
really nice.
A small ceremony into the whole process more than
Great
just
idea.
that. That's a great idea. I'll do that.
Okay. Roll
I'm
call,
sure there's a
please.
great, I'm sorry, I'm sure there's a great story behind all that. It might be worth hearing too. Absolutely
Yes,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ray, Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Mrs. Spiritu,
Yes.
Ms. Laird,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved.
All right. Starting into curriculum, then a couple things for this evening. The first one is Miller Levine Biology. This is our 9 through 12 materials for a cost of $25,950. This gives us an online access for our students in biology. So we are upping this one again for 5 years, so that price is for 5 more years, so that helps a little bit with the cost. It also is something that we didn't go on to the next version because this is the one based on Ohio standards, whereas the new version was more of a national standards. We decided to kind of stick with the Ohio standards for this one. So we're simply kind of re-upping with them again for that amount. Item 18 is also a 5-year. This is also a renewal. This one is for Houghton Mifflin, and that is for Ohio Science, but that is for grades 3 through 8. That's with your approval, and there is some renewal for that and some materials. I'm 19. This is, I think I alluded to this in my email to you, but we've been very fortunate to be partnered with GLCAP for a very extensive after-school and summer programs. This is sort of getting that ball rolling. We worked with them on this grant, and we have $300,000 to spend this summer alone on programming. So very excited. And then during the school year is $500,000 for an after-school program. We're very excited about things we're going to do for kids with that money. And like I said, mentioned it's a partnership with the GLCAP, which is former WSOS here in town. So that's kind of gives your approval for us to start proceeding with those dollars.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve items 17 through 19, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Laird. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Spiritu. Any discussion?
Is that the 21st century?
Thank you. I was going to say, I better explain that. We are at the end of the cycle of our 5-year 21st century grant.
Okay.
So we've been doing the same thing on a much smaller scale for the last few years, summers and school year, with what was called a 21st century grant. But that was about 1/10 of the size of this one. So it's pretty tremendous what we're going to be able to do with this. But same focus by career exploration, some college visits. I mean, some of the stuff we're going to be able to do with this money is just going to really change some lives, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Ms. Laird,
Yes.
Mrs. Spiritu,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Ms. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you very much. Into personnel. Item 20, we have actually 2. So this is that walk-on, Mr. Price, that you alluded
Yep.
to. So we have Diane Daring and then Justin Tweary. So those 2 under item 20. Item 21 is an appointment of a support staff substitute in Maria Isasi. And then item 22, it's that time of year, with your approval, that will extend some limited contracts to our administrators. So there's the picture right there. Those are all 3-year people. You know, I was looking at that again tonight before a board meeting and just thought, what a great group of people. I just have such a good team. And I looked through there and said, every one of those folks just do a fabulous job for our students. Then on item 23 on the next page, Justin and Tim are kind of new in their positions. So instead of a 3-year, they'll get a 2-year after they're completing a 1-year. So that's sort of the progression. So that's why they're a 2 and not a 3. Item 24, this is administrative appointment of Mr. Thomas Anway, who has been a real rock star for us through this construction project, just a fabulous asset for Fremont City Schools. Then item 25, we have our teachers. So here you go. These are the teachers that are all being awarded a 2-year contract, kind of on that rotation every other year that they get a new one. And then that extends over to section B. You'll see the 1 year, and those are more of our new folks who are still on the 1-year cycle. And the pattern goes 1-1, then it kicks into 2s. So that's the progression. Item 26, with your permission, Kelly Cart Sears is doing a long-term sub in 4th grade, and the 4th graders had a program. So she was very helpful, and all the other teachers that helped with the program got this stipend. So we'd like to make that right with Kelly with your approval. Then item 27 begins a few status changes. So at the bottom there was Stacy Gilbert, and on the top of the next page, Sean Heinlein, Avelia Sandoval, and Janine Rex have all qualified for status changes with your approval.
Can I get a motion to approve items 20 through 27, please? Motion by Mrs. Ray. I have a second.
Second. Second.
Second by Mrs. Bloom. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ray, Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Mrs. Speartoo.
Yes.
Ms. Laird,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved.
Super. Thank you very much. So then we have a couple appreciation weeks or days to sort of approve. And we sort of, like I said, we did a kind of a staff-wide event last week with the hot dogs and the Cracker Jacks. But item 28 is our bus driver appreciation. We just formally recognize what that job is, and it's a tough job. The training is difficult. Sometimes the behaviors of students can be difficult. Other drivers are difficult. Sun in your eyes can be difficult. I mean, there's just so many things that our bus drivers do every day to keep kids safe and get them to school. So really can't talk about them enough. Item 29, our child nutrition, the delicious food that our folks prepare for us every day and our students. So we like to make sure that they understand how much we appreciate them. Item 30 is the teachers then. There's a lot of activities in the buildings last week for opportunities for students to show appreciation to their teachers. Then item 31, we wouldn't want to forget our nurses. Very big part, especially in the last couple of years. They've been invaluable. I think that gets me through the end of that section.
Can I get a motion to approve items 28 through 31, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Bloom. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Laird. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Ms. Laird,
Yes.
Mrs. Speartoo,
Yes.
Mrs. Ray.
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved. All right, moving on, Megan, to the report of the treasurer.
Good evening. Our staff is working on getting our audit finished up. They're shooting for the end of May, hopefully. So we'll be excited for that to be over with for the year. And then tonight, all I have for your approval is some supplemental appropriations. We have some expenses for the class of 22 that were not there for last year, so that appropriation we need increased. Some fundraising for FMS and some equipment for the 034 fund.
Can I get a motion to approve item 32, please?
So moved.
By Ms. Laird, could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bloom. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Laird,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Mrs. Speartoo,
Yes.
Mr. Price. Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Ray, Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved. Moving on, board member communications and information. Lori.
Well, not too much to to talk about, but thank you for the donations from Lowe's and toothbrushes, and it was nice to get things for the kids and the plays they put on. Other than that, I don't really have.
Mary Alice?
I also want to thank the community for the donations and congratulate Pamela Gross-Wheeler for her.
Chantel?
We had our first finance committee today. Megan facilitated that conversation to hit you with just a couple of highlights, and then going forward, that committee will have the same kind of reporting that all of the other committees do as well. So she walked the group through our mission statement, vision, and the goals. And then as a finance committee, how does that specifically apply? And what we came up with is as we look at the budgets and the reports, being able to specifically identify the expenditures to the goal so that it matches. The group also talked about measuring the effectiveness of curriculum or tools or whatever. And they were very creative. They talked about recycling things that they've used before in training to develop teachers that maybe new teachers haven't seen, but we still have the materials for. And at the same time, bringing in new stuff. So we had both unions represented in the committee, and we're going to have more to come.
Okay, I will mirror my colleagues here. Congratulations. It's always exciting when we have our students coming back and completing their education. So that's exciting. Also, I sound like we appreciate all of the community volunteering and also providing resources for donations for our students. I'm kind of tripped off on that grant thing. That's so exciting
Very
to
exciting.
have our kids being able to get caught up and get refreshed in a different kind of environment in the summertime when they're more low key, that they could get caught up. So I'm happy about that. And we've gone through a crazy year, and seems like we're just right here at the end, and things are kind of calm and going well. And thanks to our superintendent and our staff, appreciate everything that everyone's doing and is working together to keep things on target. I also want to show my appreciation to Chantel. I know it's her position as far as a liaison, legislative liaison, but bringing it down right here to us where, not to be them, thous, and those, she kind of brings it right to, down to our understanding that we can see what's happening in the district. I do appreciate that. So glad that you. And I guess that's about all. Looking forward to graduation. It's so fast. And it doesn't sound like, it sounds like there isn't a lot of hubbub around all of the preparations and rules. Are there?
Yeah, no, it's been pretty quiet.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
we got a little ways to go yet, but so
that
far so
sounds
good.
pretty good. And thanks to our visitors to come and express their concerns and
Sure.
give their input for our children in our district.
I had the privilege last Thursday to go to Lutz School to watch firsthand. I didn't participate because it wasn't my gig at all, but OPSE, Ohio Association of Public School Employees, as a state-run organization, they do a service project each year, and they pick a project as an entire state group. And they have members in 400 of the 650 school districts in the state of Ohio, and they chose Fremont. So we were the only ones to be a part of this service project from them. What an amazing thing to see. They went to every elementary school, and they gave every student, it was a tote bag, and in it was food for 3 meals. So down in Columbus at their center down there, they said they had about 70 employees or 70 members come in, packed them all up, had it done in about an hour, he said. Then they trucked it up here. We unloaded it, had it at the different schools. And then Lutz was kind of the kickoff one where everybody was there. The state director was there. Our regional representative for OPSE was there.
Yep.
And so OPSE for community members, that's just about everybody except for teachers.
That's
I mean,
right.
it's bus drivers, it's cooks, it's maintenance people, it's mechanics, it's
Drivers,
secretaries,
custodians, secretaries,
custodians,
aides, bus aides. Yeah.
all of that. And so they were there, and it was amazing. They had a the staff there did a great job of having the kids in the gym. So it was almost like a little mini assembly. The members that were there from OPSI were great interacting with the kids, but that's what they do. I mean, they're, John always talks about the relationship, whether, it doesn't have to be just the teacher. If you're the bus driver, make that connection with those kids. Man, the representatives there, you could see that they were in it for the kids.
Yeah,
I mean, it
that's
just
true.
is an amazing group of people. In less than 10 minutes, they had the entire Lutz student body all had food in their hand and going back to their classrooms. They were organized, but they should, I guess I should expect that from the jobs that they do on a regular basis. That's right in their wheelhouse. But it was great to see that. And I have one of the thank you cards they gave me, a lady from OPSI did, but they had some of the students write thank you cards to give to them. They were giving them to the members that were there. Some of them were from districts all over the state of Ohio. So they were, and this is their state project. So they were giving these out, and they said, take them back to your local chapters, show them the appreciation that we had and what a great event it was. So great job for everyone involved in that. That was fun to watch. We were having a good time.
One of the officers was actually had been in Fremont's employee.
Yeah, she's from Fremont. She
had gone on and
and her husband is the state director. I forget names.
Yeah.
I think he might be the state director currently.
Right.
But she was there helping pass food out to kids from her home district. So that was cool. She was excited to be back home.
Yeah.
For that
and
project.
kind of emotional. She got pretty emotional.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. But it
Neat.
was a neat project.
Yeah.
They put a lot of time and effort into it, and I'm sure a lot of funds too. How many elementary students do we have?
Well, seven. I think they packed 1,700 meals or 1,700 bags. Excuse me, 1,700 bags.
And each bag had 3 meals in it for
Yep.
them to take home. So, great project.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
The other. Oh, go ahead, Vi.
You're finished.
The other thing I got to do, just on a little Vanguard Sentinel update, was Tuesday down in Columbus at the Convention Center. They have their Skills USA, the state competition. So that is, and the way Vanguard Sentinel sets it up, Greg Edinger, the superintendent, was explaining it. It would have been 3 years ago was the last time they had it in person. So because of COVID, everything was online and virtual and everything, and which makes it really hard. I mean, when you're in a trade business, if you're in construction trades and you're competing at Skills USA and you have to you're plumbing something, it's kind of hard to do that online for judges to see it. So it was great. I think everybody, judges included, we're all happy that everything was in person. But the way Vanguard Sentinel does it is, as a student of Vanguard Sentinel, you are automatically eligible to be part of Skills USA. Some career centers don't do it that way, and it's a separate thing. But this way, anyone who wants to compete can. So our students, and there were some from Fremont here, they got to compete at the state level. Vanguard Sentinel had some students that are moving on to nationals, which is down in Atlanta this year. So just an amazing, they fill that convention center so you could see welding, building, any of the buildings trades. There was masonry, there was carpentry, there was plumbing, there was robotics, there's cosmetology, auto tech. Even some kids were being interviewed. So it was an interview process just to be in front of people, and the stuff that Skills USA does to help those kids go along and do stuff. It's great to see that kids that have chosen that path really get pushed into it, and it's like, man, go for it, just do it. So pretty amazing to see all of that from around the state. So you had something else, Vi?
Yes, I'd like to encourage our board members. The OSBA, they're offering their town halls really, really good information. And they'll have state reps come in and talk about things like the report card, but explain it in detail. There are different, areas that I think would be helpful. We don't have to go to Columbus to, a meeting we can do it right at our computer, and it's 1 hour max. But during that hour, there's a lot of things that they unpack that is really helpful for our board governance. Anyway, this is my little plug. There's one tomorrow. It's the 11th. Yeah. So, but there's like 3 more for the rest of the school summer that I noticed. So go on the web and check them out, but it's time well worth spent.
All right. If there's nothing else from anybody, can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
Moved.
Motion by Ms. Laird. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Spiritu. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Laird,
Yes.
Mrs. Spiritu,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Mr. Ray, Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's carried. Meeting is adjourned.